Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture, joined by Phil Chambers from WhatCulture. The Elimination Chamber pay-per-view has just finished and we are here to tell you what went down. And what went down, Phil, is we have a new United States champion. We have a WrestleMania match confirmed. But let's start at the most obvious place. We have a new WWE champion and he wasn't even in the Elimination Chamber. The Miz is your new world champion. Your reaction to that, Phil, first of all?
I mean, it's The Miz finally cashing in the Money in the Bank. I think we all kind of expected it would happen eventually, but I don't know if we all actually believed that The Miz would actually be the champion coming out of it. But they managed to kind of develop a few story points along the show that led to it. I guess we'll get there as we go along. But yeah, I guess let's start at the beginning and we'll make you wait for that.
I'll say divisive for now, and we'll get in due course. Let's start on the Kickoff show where they hoyed a fatal four-way match to effectively replace Keith Lee in that United States Championship triple threat. It was Elias versus Mustafa Ali versus Ricochet versus John Morrison. Ricochet just reminding everyone how great he is. Looking absolutely spectacular. And then looked like he had the match won, looked like he had Mustafa Ali pinned, but of course, I would say it louder, but the neighbours will be annoyed and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. They get involved. He does a big dive to the outside. They catch him. They hoy him into a post. But in the midst of all this, whilst they're distracted with all that, John Morrison rolls up Mustafa Ali to win and qualify for that United States Championship match later on in the night. Not really a lot you want to say about that, Phil?
Not a huge man. It was a fun match. It was fine. I think any of the 3 people that aren't Elias winning would have been absolutely fine to go on to the main event. Still think we need to be doing more with Ricochet in WWE at this point, but the John Morrison thing ties into the rest of it, sort of, so I guess it makes sense.
Exactly. The show opened, though, with the first Elimination Chamber match, this being the SmackDown side of things to determine who would face Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship match later on in the night or immediately after the match, but we'll get to that. It started off, what a start this was. Daniel Bryan versus Cesaro, the two guys who sort of carried this match. They looked absolutely sensational in there. Corbin comes in, Sami Zayn comes in. Corbin is the first person eliminated. Cesaro just looked... I'm divided on this, so I'll get into it in a second, but he just looks so good in there. A spin for Corbin, followed by a sharpshooter to eliminate him. Owens comes in, Jey Uso comes in. Owens eliminates Zayn, who earlier on had tried to sort of convince him to team up. Didn't like that one bit. He hit a stunner on Sami Zayn to eliminate him. In the midst of all this, as Owens is shepherding Sami Zayn out, his arm gets trapped in the door of the chamber by Jey Uso, who super kicks him just loads, basically. Eliminates Owens after a splash. He eliminates Cesaro after a splash as well, which left us between Jey Uso and Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan hit the running knee to win the whole match. Cesaro, although he was eliminated, I'm okay with this because I feel like that was an acknowledgement from WWE just how good a performer is, and the fact they might give an actual build to a world title match. But yeah, Daniel Bryan, before we get into what happened next, Phil, won this chamber match. How did it go for you?
Yeah, I thought this was the match of the night, definitely. Really good fun. I really enjoyed Cesaro in this. Obviously, he's just a fantastic bloody wrestler. But I really enjoyed how they got to the Jey Uso finish as well, because Cesaro had Daniel Bryan and he was going to swing him, but he changed his mind and he just swung him from one of his legs, because that was the injured leg that he'd been selling throughout the entire match, and swung him around, and then Jey Uso super kicked him as he was doing it and hit the splash to get him out, which led on to the Daniel Bryan thing. I really like the amount of story that they've built coming out of this. You've got the Jey Uso versus Kevin Owens stuff that's been continued on. You've got obviously the Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan kind of thing angle, which will come, and Jey Uso not being able to get the job done for Roman Reigns, which is going to come back and bite him on the ass on SmackDown at some point. So yeah, really great action, really good, fun Elimination Chamber match, and plenty of story to come out of it. It just ticked all the boxes.
Yes, and after 35 minutes, basically, Daniel Bryan was just flat out. They started to raise the chamber, and we thought, why would they raise the chamber whilst you were watching? Why wouldn't they cut to a video? And that's because Roman Reigns came straight out and went, congratulations, you won a Universal Championship match right now. But a spectacular start to this match, because we just thought he was going to run in and spear him, but Daniel Bryan, a wily old veteran in there.
Yeah, we knew we were talking about going into this, you needed someone who could somehow change the pace around and make you believe that, oh my God, this might actually happen. And Daniel Bryan is very good at that. Roman Reigns comes in straight away for the spear as the first move he does. But Daniel Bryan somehow, incredibly, manages to catch him in the spear and turn it into a yes lock. It was such a perfect transition that you just did not see coming. And it was absolutely fantastic. Got him in the yes lock for ages in the middle of the ring. Roman Reigns was desperately trying to get out, and he just kind of peeled his hand away from his face and got out of it. Obviously ended up just beating the crap out of him with punches on the floor, just beating all the life out of Daniel Bryan, and then you knew it was absolutely over. And yeah, of course, Roman Reigns got the victory over Daniel Bryan, but just for that 1 second, it just made you believe for a moment, and it was just, it was so good, and that transition, brilliant stuff. But yeah, continues the sort of just absolute, he's just a bastard, Roman Reigns. It just works so well. All of this, yeah, works really, really well.
In fact, it didn't even pin or submit Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, he choked him out.
Celebrated like he'd been through hell in the reality of being through like a 2-minute world title match after his opponent has just gone through, well, hell, and celebrates, turns round, spear, and a good looking one from Edge, who all but confirmed he's going to challenge him at WrestleMania. I think they even announced it on commentary later, but he stood up and pointed, and we all knew that was the confirmation that, I don't care what happens in the WWE Championship Chamber, I'm facing you at WrestleMania. Something we've been expecting for a long time, but long overdue, this, Phil.
Yeah, absolutely. Another fantastic moment. You know you're building towards the money match, which is obviously Edge versus Roman Reigns. All of the SmackDown boxes are ticked in terms of storytelling. Although the whole thing about Edge wanting to not make a decision until all of the Elimination Chamber has happened because he doesn't know who's going to be coming out as the main chamber match with Drew McIntyre, he just kind of ignored all of that. And he's just like, yeah, okay, Roman Reigns. So it does kind of make a lot of the build seem a little bit nonsense, but I'm fine with it because we're going in the right direction.
Yes. Also, bollocks to NXT by the sounds of things. Next up was the United States Championship match. Me and Phil would have put our houses on Bobby Lashley leaving as United States Champion here, but that was not the case. It was Lashley against Riddle and John Morrison. As I said, John Morrison winning that fatal 4-way because Keith Lee reportedly injured and therefore out of this pay-per-view. The majority of this was Lashley just beating up two guys who, even when they teamed up, could barely get anything on him. Floating Bro from Lashley, Starship Pain from Morrison, and Lashley just kicked out of like two. Like, how dare you? And MVP Morrison's face going, you idiot. So eventually, Morrison squares up to MVP, gets the crutch, because obviously MVP's got the injury, gets the crutch, and then just gets immediately caught in the hurt lock, drops the crutch. That allows Riddle to get in, obviously triple threat rules.
Yeah.
Whats Bobby Lashley in the back a couple of times with that crutch. Lashley rolls to the outside selling, of course. Riddle hits Bro Derek on John Morrison. 1, 2, 3. Gets out of there as fast as he could. A baffling decision at the time. It's inevitably going to be followed up on Raw tonight, I suppose, Phil. I suppose if you're going to take the title off Bobby Lashley, you do it in a way that you don't have him get pinned or look like that much of an idiot. He just got screwed by the rules of the match more than anything.
Yeah, definitely. The whole classic triple threat thing, where meaning that you've got an out because you haven't actually had your shoulders pinned to the mat or anything. Bobby Lashley still definitely looks like a badass coming out of this. But we should also mention that later on in the night, we did see Bobby Lashley backstage. Not Bobby Lashley, MVP was backstage with The Miz. And they were talking about something. We didn't hear what they were talking about, but that very much led into the finish of the whole pay-per-view. So it definitely seems like a reshuffling of the card, pushing Bobby Lashley up into the main event slot. And I mean, you can't really argue with that way. It's just a classic way of getting out of a mid-card title to move on to something else, really, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. And by the end of this night, no one was thinking, it's a shame he's lost the United States title because he's got so many more going forward. I thought for a brief period it was just MVP comforting The Miz because he got the taste slapped out of his mouth by 24/7 champion Bad Bunny. But anyway, let's move on to the penultimate. Oh, well, technically not the penultimate match tonight, I suppose. The women's tag team championships were on the line. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax and her hole, which is a joke they've almost record time for WWE, defending against Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. This was dumb, Phil.
Yep, we knew this was dumb going into it. They've booked themselves into a corner when you really can't put the tag belts on Bianca Belair and Sasha because that would be stupid, and you can't have Bianca Belair and Sasha lose because that would also be stupid. So who have we got to get some shenanigans? Reginald, of course. Bloody Reginald.
Yes, he got involved. He tried to give someone a bottle of shampoo. He tried to give Sasha something to use. That got the referee involved, and then that just allowed... I suppose you're protecting. You pinned your champion.
Nia Jax pinned the women's champion at the end of the day, and it wasn't even a very good distraction. He was just there at ringside with some champagne. I'm sure, I don't know, if you could have had Sasha turn on Bianca and gone full heel boss mode leading into WrestleMania with Sasha versus Bianca, or you could have just not booked this match in the first place, which probably would have been the better route.
If you wanted a women's match on this show, why not book Asuka against literally anyone else rather than going up until the day, whoa, what's going to happen with this Asuka Lacey Evans match? We all know she's pregnant. She isn't wrestling. Why not book her in a different match? And then they sort of hinted at it on the Kickoff show to the point where in our comment section on the live stream going, so Asuka's going on the main event after the Chamber. We're like, no, they're not doing that. But anyway, ridiculous. Why not just have Asuka face, like I said, literally anyone? But they did this instead, and it was crap and dumb and instantly forgettable, let's be honest. Right, main event time. WWE Championship match. Drew McIntyre defending his title in there. This was a bit all over the place in terms of like Randy Orton got rolled up by Kofi Kingston and eliminated. That was
really early on as well.
It was a weird because it was a match of things that didn't happen more than things that did. Like no Fiend. No, and I know that's more sort of fantasy booking on our end, but like no Mustafa Ali involvement, Kofi Kingston being in the Elimination Chamber again, all that. Fine, okay. So Randy Orton gets rolled up, then immediately RKO's two people, being Kofi and Jeff, if I remember rightly. And AJ Styles, who is the penultimate man to enter this match, Drew McIntyre just off somewhere selling. Quite a lot of just sort of like, I'm going to have a lie down for 10 minutes. AJ Styles spots his opportunity. He knows he's going to be the next one out anyway, so he gets big jawed to rip open the Elimination Chamber and just runs around to go in when Randy's obviously exiting the chamber. Unfortunately, no pinfalls for him off the back of that, but he was an integral part of this match, Phil.
Yeah, absolutely. It built up. Obviously, Kofi Kingston and Jeff Hardy were the next ones eliminated because, of course, they were. But I did very much like the finish. Sheamus came in.
Great brogue kick by Sheamus to eliminate Kofi.
Absolutely, yeah. He absolutely knocked his head off. But the finish, it came around like Sheamus had brogue kicked Drew McIntyre, but then in that moment, AJ Styles jumped in to phenomenal forearm Sheamus. So AJ Styles eliminated Sheamus before he could get his hands on Drew McIntyre, which led us round to the finish, which was a really, really well done spot of AJ Styles coming in for the phenomenal forearm with Drew McIntyre jumping up and Claymore kicking him out of the sky for the victory. So it was a good match. It was fine. Really well done. Whereas the SmackDown match had lots and lots of little story elements that you can see feeding into WrestleMania and going on beyond. This felt like a huge lack of story elements, really. It's more muddied the water of all of the stories, including what happened afterwards, because now you don't quite know what's happening with Drew and Sheamus. You didn't get any kind of definitive ending to their feud in this. AJ Styles is just there without any real goals, I guess. And Kofi Kingston just got a win over Randy Orton for no apparent reason, and we've got none of the Fiend carrying on the storyline with Randy Orton, and Jeff Hardy was just there.
And I think he got Claymore to get eliminated. I'm not sure if we mentioned. Yeah, let's move on to what happened afterwards. So Drew's celebrating / surviving, just getting through that chamber match. Down comes a very pissed off Bobby Lashley, comes down, beats him up, slams his head into the announce table like 20 odd times, puts him in the hurt lock, and then just looks to the entranceway. Miz comes down with referee John Conan by his side, goes in, cashes in. Lashley obviously sort of a part of this, because he just sort of left and went, yeah, he's all yours, mate.
Yeah.
And he's tried to initially pin him via DDT. That didn't work. But then hit a skull crushing finale. 1, 2, 3. The Miz is WWE Champion. How does this factor in with, like you say, with the Drew Sheamus stuff? What's Bobby Lashley's role in all this? Like I said at the beginning, incredibly divisive this. Is it the right call to take the title off Drew McIntyre again on the road to WrestleMania? Time will tell with that sort of thing. I don't necessarily agree with it, but who knows? But all I did say, as I said on the stream, Phil, is it kind of makes people have to watch Raw tonight to see how this all pieces together and what the fallout of it is.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of speculation about what the whole Bobby Lashley relationship is here. Has MVP sort of angled the first championship match against The Miz at some point, maybe at Fastlane or maybe even on Raw tomorrow night. Who knows? I'm assuming this isn't going to be the longest championship reign ever by The Miz. But does this now lead to Bobby Lashley versus Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre at Mania? Or what do they do with that? With just 3 beefy guys beating the crap out of each other at Mania? And where does this leave Drew versus Sheamus going forwards? Because you still need to pay that off at some point. A lot of questions.
A lot of questions. Mainly, are we getting the Hurt Mizness? Was my question, first and foremost. Also, are we getting the Miz versus Bad Bunny at WrestleMania? Maybe to compensate for that, Bobby Lashley versus Brock, because Bobby Lashley looked like an absolute monster on the show. Just a wild conclusion to, as we were heading towards the end of that chamber match, it was quite tame in my opinion, and now it's just blown up in our face and we've no idea how it's going to go from here. Like I said, it's not necessarily the best bit of booking, and it could be one of those things that we look back on in 24 hours or 4 weeks or whatever and go, oh yeah, that didn't play out anywhere near as well as I thought it would. But for the time being, it's got you talking. It's a twist on the road to WrestleMania. And in terms of, we've got one of the main events. Let's be perfectly honest. We've got one of the main events. That is now set in stone. Roman Reigns defending the Universal Championship against Edge. You would assume the other main event is probably going to be the other Royal Rumble winners. So in terms of generating buzz and talk about all the other stuff going around it, you have to say this pay-per-view succeeded, whether good or for bad. All publicity is good publicity. But do let us know your thoughts on everything that unfolded at Elimination Chamber in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and Hamflet delving into this in more detail in the next few minutes, probably. That should be out very soon. And obviously looking ahead to Raw tonight. I never understand. Especially not in the ongoing Global Bastard. Myself and Michael Situate will be previewing Monday Night Raw and talking about all the fallout from this over the next few days as well. But you can let us know your thoughts as well on Twitter, and let the guys who are doing the news in the morning know your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. And watch there. Follow both of us. You can follow Phil Chambers at...
Follow me at Phil My Chambers. And while I'm here, go to ProWrestlingTees.com, Mick Foley's page, and get yourself a Mr. Socko face mask designed by me. All proceeds go to the Cauliflower Alley Club to help ex-wrestlers in need. And you can follow Adam Wilborn at
Adam Wilborn. Yes, do donate. It's a fantastic one. It's a great mask. I have to say, I love it. I think it's fantastic. Wear a mask, and wear that mask in particular. Yeah. But anyway, this has been Elimination Chamber. What went down? It's never dull, is it, being a wrestling fan? Phil Chambers, thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.